Hi, we're the Chapel Arts Creative Writing Group. This year, our theme for the Buxton Fringe is The Secret Gardens, which is commemorating 150 years of the Pavilion Gardens in Buxton, Derbyshire. The group has recorded some short stories and poems, but today we're performing a sketch that has been written by Anne Cawthorne. It's called The Pavilion Gardens in the 1960s. I'll just introduce you to our characters. So we've got Stephanie Billen up there. Give us a wave, Stephanie, who's playing Doris. Anne, who's written the play, is playing Ethel. And Fred is been played by Pete. Okay, so the Pavilion Gardens in the 1960s. Doris and Ethel are two elderly neighbours who meet up each morning for a chat over a cuppa. Doris has been a widow since her Bert died 5 years ago, and Ethel lives with her long-suffering husband, Fred. They normally meet up in Fred and Ethel's kitchen, but today they have taken the 199 bus to Buxton to have a coffee in the Pavilion Gardens cafe.
This is a lovely treat, being able to meet up indoors again since Boris said we can. Cheers.
Isn't it just? I was just beginning to go stir crazy looking at the same four walls.
Wasn't much better for me with just Ethel to look at.
Cheeky devil. You never used to say that all those years ago when we were courting.
No, not true.
Where did you do your courting then?
Mainly here in the Pavilion Gardens. There were so many things to do in the 1960s when we were teenagers.
I agree. Me and my Bert met here as well.
Did you?
I bet this place has been responsible for a lot of couples getting together over the years.
I'm sure it has. My parents never minded me coming here. They thought it was a safe place.
Oh, they didn't bank on randy young men like Fred and Bert leading us astray.
No, I left home with a load of girls, and my parents didn't realise that we parted company at the gates and then met up with the boys in the park.
Did you know that it was the garden's 150th anniversary this year?
No, I must have missed that.
Yeah, it said it in the paper. It was built to coincide with the railway coming to Buxton.
Oh, I used to come up on the train to Buxton probably 4 times a week. I went home from school in Buxton on the train, and then I used to use my pass to come back at night or for the weekend.
The gardens haven't changed a lot over the years. Just the entertainment is different. When we couldn't afford to go inside, the grounds were always a good place for a kiss and a cuddle, especially near the Serpentine. Free night out.
And if you were on the pickup, there were gangs of girls and boys roaming around on a Sunday afternoon.
That's when I met Bert. He kept turning up when I was walking with my friends. I knew he was keen on me when he asked me to go on a rowboat with him. And when we got off, he bought me a cornet from the ice cream kiosk.
Yeah, you knew you clicked when that happened, didn't you?
The next step was to meet them at the indoor events during the week. I always went with my mates and met the lucky girl inside.
That's so he didn't have to pay for them to get in, Doris. He always has been tight.
Well, you wouldn't want to waste good money on somebody you weren't sure you fancied. I also needed to know if they were good at dancing and skating.
You wouldn't think it now, but I was a really good skater. I used to come here to the Octagon on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, you had to be a good skater. Do you remember how we all skated around the outside of it, holding hands?
Then one of the lads on the inside of the line grabbed hold of one of the middle posts and swung the others around.
If you were on the outside, you had to skate hard to avoid falling over. Scary, but exhilarating.
Yes,
I also loved the Friday disco.
Yes, me too. If you were lucky, you could have had a good smooch to the slow tunes at the end of the night.
For me, the best nights were Saturday nights when groups like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones played in the Octagon.
Yeah, I think the tickets were only 6 and 8 to begin with, And then they went up to 7 and 6. I earned £1 on a Saturday working in the local record shop, so I could afford to go.
I was there the first time the Beatles came. What a crush. Everybody wanted to get to the front, so there was a lot of pushing going on.
And yeah, and you couldn't hear them for screaming either.
It was so hot, we were all wet through from the condensation dripping off the ceiling.
Yeah, we all managed to get to the front, but a few of my friends fainted.
I remember passing them to the police officers who were on the stage, who passed them to each other. I guess the St. John's ambulance people were looking after them at the back.
My friend's dad was one of the young policemen. Best night of his career, he always said.
It was memorable for me too. All the young girls in their miniskirts. Happy days.
He never changes, does he, Doris?
You wouldn't want him to, Ethel.
No.
Very good.
Cheers.
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 Lovely. I always look forward to hearing the Ethel, Doris and Fred sketches. So thank you very much for that, Anne. And actually my story, which will be in the sequence of the Secret Garden, actually ties in very nicely with your sketch. So I think that's all from us today. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and look out for our other stories and poems that are in the Secret Garden sequence. Thank you. Bye.
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 Well, I always like Anne's plays to do with Doris and Ethel and Fred. Simone's story was set in more or less the same period, follows on rather nicely from it. And Simone, over to you.
My short story for the Buxton Fringe lends itself to be read by 2 readers. All will be revealed. It's a short fiction story, and it's based on the Beatles visiting the Pavilion Gardens to the Octagon, playing on the 19th of October 1963. And the story is entitled A Hard Day's Night. Morning, dear. You were late back last night. Did something happen?
Oh yes, something happened, all right, Dorothy. Something called the Beatles. I've never seen anything like it in all my years I've been on the beat. I'm glad I put my foot down with our Margaret. There was about 2,000 young lasses there last night, and the occasional lad dragged in by a girlfriend, all standing. They were screaming, fainting, and that's not the worst of it. Sergeant Hawkins and I were pulling lasses that were getting crushed at the front up onto the stage. At one point, he had to address the crowd and plead with them to calm down for fear of someone getting seriously hurt. Kept the St. John's ambulance lot busy, bringing all those who fainted around. The Pavilion Gardens manager was beside himself with worry. He thought the crowds they'd had for Jerry and the pacemakers and Freddie and the Dreamers were rowdy. But he'd never seen anything like last night, not even in April when them Beatles were last here. It wasn't even that they were drunk, they were just off their heads on euphoria.
Oh my word, who'd have thought it in Buxton? Besides all that, were they any good?
Oh, Dorothy, it was all a big din to me. And besides, with all that screaming, they could have been singing anything. The roof nearly lifted off with one of the songs that I recognised from the drivel our Margaret plays incessantly. If you said a title, it might ring a bell.
What about the one that's in the charts now? She loves you. The chorus is, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. They were singing it on Granada TV the other night. You remember? You made a comment to Margaret and she went all quiet. Someone must like it, Derek. It was #1 a couple of weeks ago. In fact, there's an interview in my Woman's Own magazine about that very song. It made me laugh because it said Paul McCartney and John Lennon wrote it wrote She Loves You in a couple of days, and it was the first time they'd written a song in the third person.
Well, they might write songs quick, Dorothy, but if they ever do a gig in Buxton again, we'll need to be better prepared. We had trouble even before then performing.
What sort of trouble?
Well, we had to send Bobbies over to Bakewell. Luckily, it was just before I went on duty. A group of girls had got it into their heads that the lads were stopping at the Rutland. They were chanting, "We want the Beatles, we want the Beatles." It caused mayhem. The crowd got bigger and bigger and brought the traffic to a standstill. Beaker said they were screaming hysterically. The chief should have realised by the sight of the queue at the gardens that we needed more hands on deck. What a night. If you hear any mention of me coming back, I want to know, because I'll book some leave.
Oh, Derek, you're turning into an old frump. You need to embrace this new music.
Embrace? More like turn the dial on the radio to another station.
Anyway, with all that hullabaloo of the night, did you manage to get the album cover signed for our Margaret?
Oh, I most certainly did. I asked one of the Tricks-on lads that were the support band to sort it for me, seeing as I had my hands full of screaming, fainting lasses to deal with. Well, where is Margaret? She's very quiet this morning.
She stopped at Janet's house, said they were going to listen to Janet's Beatles album all night, being as though they weren't allowed to go to the concert.
Janet as in Janet Dixon?
Yes, Janet Dixon. Why?
Well, just I could have sworn I saw Janet Dixon at that concert last night.
Are you sure it wasn't her older sister Pat? They do look very similar.
Who knows, Dorothy? I wasn't exactly in a position to pay attention to detail. There were loads of lasses that looked a similar age to our Margaret. Maybe I should have let her go, seeing it was a Saturday night. Well, hopefully she'll forgive me when I give her that signed album cover.
Oh, I'm sure she will, Derek. You know our Margaret. She's never been one for bearing a grudge. And by the time Pat Dixon's regaled the night's events to Janet and Margaret, it'll be like they were actually there. So that was my short story. I had a lot of fun doing research for this particular short story. And one of the things was a little bit of She Loves You trivia that I found. And this is an interview with Paul McCartney. And it was printed, I think, in something called Many Years From Now by Barry Miles. So this is what Paul said. We sat there one evening just beavering away while my dad was watching TV and smoking his Players cigarettes. And we wrote She Loves You. We actually finished it there because we'd started it in the hotel room. We went into the living room and said, "Dad, listen to this. What do you think?" So we played it to my dad and he said, "That's very nice, son, but I think there's enough of these Americanisms around. Couldn't you just sing She Loves You, yes, yes, yes?" At which point we collapsed in a heap and said, "No, Dad, you don't get it. That's my middle-class story about my dad. For a working-class guy, that was rather a middle-class thing to say, really, but he was like that." So visions of them strumming that in the living room, and poor old Mr. McCartney having to stop whatever he was doing. And I think they'd started writing it in a hotel room. I don't know, it might have been something like Newcastle or something the day before. So there you go. A bit of trivia about one of their famous songs. And some reports, in newspaper articles after the Octagon concert in '63, said that somebody from the St. John's ambulance has said that they felt like the roof was lifting when they started singing She Loves You. So there you go. They could hear it down Spring Gardens. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll have some more recordings for the Buxton Fringe from the Chapel Arts Creative Writing Group. for you to listen to. Thank you. Bye.
Well, that concludes our Secret Gardens recordings for the 2021 Buxton Festival Fringe. We're grateful to Chapel Arts, who have funded our entry and provided the Zoom account for all our recordings. We're also grateful to Stephanie Billen, who, as well as being a member of our Chapel Arts Creative Writing Group, is one of the Buxton Fringe team and has put our 2021 entry forward. Everyone in the Chapel Arts Creative Writing Group has worked hard to produce these diverse stories and poems and sketches. I'd like to thank Simone for organising the Zoom recordings of these pieces and editing them and loading them onto YouTube.
You're welcome.
I hope you've enjoyed watching them.
And I'd just like to thank you, Mark, for being our creative writing tutor and doing all your hard work with our editing it and putting it onto the PDF files that can be found on the Chapel Arts website for anybody that would like to read the stories. And thank you everybody for watching, and that concludes our 2021 Buxton Fringe contribution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.